Well, with motherhood comes with less time in the studio. So my time is more limited in the studio. And so it's more precious. And so I have to be a little more smart and efficient with how I work in the studio. Before I would just come in whenever and stay however long, and sometimes just sit around, which I think is also important to a creative practice. It's good to be bored, but with with caring for another human, I have windows now where I have to be in the studio from this time and I got to be home by this time. And so with that structure, I have to be a little more strategic with what I do in the space, in the studio, um, and just be more efficient. Um, Also, on the inspiration side, as adults, we've seen everything, and seeing Maxie, who's my daughter, she's 18 months now, um, see her grow and progress and develop. Um, it's so fascinating to see her see things and experience things for the first time. And that to me is inspiring because as artists, we show the world a different way of seeing. And so it's just like a kid or a child seeing things for the first time. So I like to try to pay attention to things that she sees for the first time, and things that she says for the first time, and see how she sees it and see what she does with things. And I try to translate that into my practice and try to see things in a new way. And whereas prior to motherhood, it was kind of just more production based, versus now I'm like, let me try this. I'm more, I guess, not that I wasn't interested in it before, but now I'm like more interested in exploring new things and seeing things in a new way. A lot of times it was, in terms of art, it was, you know, I mean, it's such a repetitive motion rolling these strips of paint. But in, while you're rolling it, your mind's kind of thinking of other things. And I know meditation is supposed to quiet the mind, but it also, I thought of a lot of maybe new things I wanted to try with the work, and just, different angles or different uh, possibilities. And so that crossed my mind a lot when I was rolling the circles. And it also just made me reflect on the journey, the journey of motherhood. It was a long journey. And I'm not, um, I, I don't mind sharing that we did IVF. We did it twice. And prior to that, we did other modes of reproduction assistance. So it was a journey. And when I started working on the pieces, I was pregnant. Um, and it took a while to get pregnant. And so I finished the body of work just before the show, actually. So I worked on it for over 2 years, and it's kind of seen me through the whole process of pregnancy and birth and motherhood. And a lot of times it would just blow my mind to just to see how this whole thing, came about. Because Maxie was like frozen for 5 months, right? So it was just a reflection on like the amazingness, if that's a word, of science, and how it made it possible. It also made me think of how worth it was, because it was a lot on my body. Um, and and then just going through motherhood and not knowing what you're doing, but at the same time, all the things that come with it, like mother's guilt and exhaustion and just feelings you've never felt before, happiness, heart growing, so all those things, I guess, go through your head when you're just doing something repetitive. I think so. So when I first started my process with the drying paint, the first thing I ever did with a dried strip of paint was roll it. It was the most intuitive thing for me to do with a strip. And I never knew where it was going to go when I first did it. I maybe envisioned it to be a single piece, like a large one. But for this show, it was, having the different small pieces was like it allowed me to also work on it at home when I had, the baby and I couldn't go to the studio. So that also maybe affected how I decided to make it a big installation of little ones versus like a big one. Um, yeah, it was, I think it had to do with, yeah, where I was in my life. And that definitely affected the size. But the more I started doing it, then I saw, and then I had the small room. I saw the installation as one piece. Yes, absolutely. So again, like, right, when you're rolling, I was saying, in the creative side of my ideas, um, that happened. And I was like, what would happen if I made the shape a little more irregular, and how could I do that? And so I always keep my, like, just scraps of paint from previous projects, but also this stemmed during the pandemic, when I was in Charleston, and all I had was what I could find. And so I found these candy molds. I think it was in a craft store. And I bought some. And that's when I started playing with drying the paint in these candy molds. And so I had a whole bunch of candy molds. And, I had experimented with them before, but never did much with them. And so then I just had a bunch. And so I said, well, what would happen if I, put one of these in the circles and then coiled around it? And that's just how it evolved. Be here now. Yes. So I mean, meditation is about being present. And we're always thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do 2 days from now, what happened yesterday, um, you know, where am I going to be in 5 years? And we're just always thinking of yesterday or tomorrow. And with meditation, it teaches you how to be in the now, and present. And and I struggle with it. I try to meditate every day, and my mind still goes like all over the place. But that's what meditation is. It's a process. And so, be here now is kind of my mantra when I meditate, so that I can be present. And so, because the circles were meditations, um, I wanted to title the show, Be Here Now. as what meditation is supposed to, help you do, to be in the present. So the last time I was in Manila was for the last show, or 2 shows ago, which was 54 Gal. That was the show in the downstairs gallery. That was August of 2019. So that was the last time I saw my family and the last time I was back in Manila. And so it was a big deal because I came back as a mother, and it was a different experience. And my whole family met Maxie for the first time, which was really nice. And it was just good seeing everyone after 3 years. Like, you know, when you're going through it, you just kind of compartmentalize it and you don't think about it, right? But you miss everybody, right? And so it was really emotional leaving. But I definitely will be back more. I would love Maxie to also come back more often, so she, gets to know her family there and just gets to know the Filipino culture. So I'll definitely be back more. I feel very happy. Like there's a lot of feelings when I show. So there's so much work, effort, and emotions, blood, sweat, and tears that go into producing work for a show. And I guess it's the work is an extension of you, that when it's up on the wall for the public to see, you feel so vulnerable, right? It's almost like you're dancing naked. And so a lot of times, it's a vulnerable feeling when you show your work in public. And so when people connect with it in a positive way, it's one of the best feelings. And that's why I keep doing what I do.